Don't contact us again. You're no longer our son, my dad texted. My sister laughed. I replied, perfect. My lawyer will send the bill with interest. Then the chat imploded with missed calls and screaming texts. Hey Reddit, get ready to hear this shit show of a family. I'm Nick, 31 male, and my folks cut me off via group text because I stopped being their personal piggy bank. So I hit them with $78,000 in loan repayment demands. What followed? Well, grab your popcorn. This is going to be fun. The text came through at 9 p.m. on a Wednesday, while I was halfway through a gaming session with my buddy Derek. Family group chat. Dad, we're done. Don't contact us again. Consider yourself cut off. I picked up my phone, read it twice, then went back to my game. Derek noticed and asked what was up. I showed him the screen. Damn, he said. What did you do? Stopped writing checks. See, here's the thing about being the family bank. Eventually, you run out of sympathy for people who think your wallet is their emergency fund. My parents had been bleeding me dry for 6 years with what they called temporary loans. Loans that were never temporary and definitely never getting paid back. My sister Brielle saw the message and reacted with a laughing emoji. Then she typed, "About time someone said it." That told me everything. They'd had a whole family meeting about me. Sat around discussing how I was the problem while living off money I'd loaned them that they had no intention of returning. I could have typed out some long explanation. Could have defended myself. Instead, I replied, "No problem. I'll have my lawyer send over the loan repayment notices tomorrow." With interest. The typing indicators started going crazy immediately. 3 dots appearing and disappearing like someone having a seizure. Then my phone started ringing. Mom, Dad, Brielle. Back to back to back. I declined every single one and silenced my phone. Derek looked at me with this mix of concern and respect. Dude, are you serious about the lawyer thing? Completely. How much are we talking? I pulled up my spreadsheet. Yeah, I kept a spreadsheet. $47,000 over the last 6 years. All formally documented with signed loan agreements. His eyes went wide. Holy! Yeah. And that's not counting the random small favors they conveniently forgot about. That's just the actual formal loans with paperwork. Here's what they never wanted anyone to know. I didn't just help them out here and there. I bankrolled their entire lifestyle for years while they pretended they were doing fine. Every major loan came with a promissory note. Every single one. Because my grandmother Helen taught me early that family or not, you document everything. Dad had borrowed $18,000 3 years ago for what he called a business investment opportunity. The business never materialized. The investment was apparently a fishing boat he used twice before selling it for half what I gave him. Never paid back a cent. Mom took out $12,000 for medical bills that turned out to be cosmetic procedures she didn't need and couldn't afford. Also never saw a dime back. Brielle, the professional makeup artist, had borrowed $17,000 over multiple loans for everything from equipment to rent to emergency car repairs. Her Instagram bio said CEO and founder of some makeup line that didn't exist outside of her bathroom mirror. She'd paid me back exactly $200 once, then asked for another $1,500 the next week. Those 3 major loans, 18, 12, and 17,000, made up the 47 grand I had documented with signatures and terms. There were other small amounts here and there over the years. Couple hundred for utilities, a few hundred for car insurance, but those were harder to prove, and honestly, I didn't even care about that money anymore. The big stuff was enough. I'd been stupid. Not anymore. My phone was lighting up like a Christmas tree with texts. I glanced at a few of them while Derek watched. Mom, how can you be so cruel? We're family. Dad, you're going to destroy this family over money? Brielle, you're actually such a piece of garbage. Hope you know that. I showed Derek the messages. He shook his head. Man, they're really trying to flip this on you. That's what they do. It's what they've always done. The messages kept coming. Paragraphs about how disappointed they were. How I was being selfish. How they never thought I'd turn on them like this. Around midnight, Dad sent one more text. Your mother is crying. I hope you're happy. I typed back, tell her to dry her tears with one of the loan agreements she signed. Then I muted the group chat and went to bed. What they didn't know was that I'd had lunch with Grandma Helen 3 days ago, and I'd told her everything. The loans, the amounts, the complete lack of repayment or even acknowledgement, the constant guilt trips, the way they treated me like an ATM they could access anytime things got tight. She listened to the whole thing without interrupting. Then she asked me one question. Where do your parents live? I told her the address. And that's when she dropped the bomb. She went quiet for a long moment. Then she said, "Hey, hey, hey, that's my house." I didn't understand at first. Thought she meant she'd sold it to them years ago or something. But nope, she meant it was still hers. Legally. On paper. They'd been living there for 8 years without paying rent, property taxes, or utilities. Just existing in someone else's house like it was their God-given right. And that's when Grandma said something I'll never forget. "I think it's time they learned what life costs when someone's not paying it for them." That was 3 days ago. By tomorrow morning, everything was going to change. And they had no idea the storm that was coming. I showed up at Grandma Helen's place at 8 a.m. the next morning. She was already up, dressed, and had coffee waiting. "Sit," she said, pointing at the kitchen table. In front of her was an accordion folder that looked like it had survived a war. She pushed it across to me. "Everything you need is in there." I opened it. Inside were decades of documents, property deeds, tax statements, rental agreements that were never signed, payment records that showed exactly $0 received, and at the very bottom, loan agreements with my parents' signatures on them. Wait, loan agreements? I looked up at her. "You loaned them money too?" $31,200. Over 10 years. Her face didn't move. "They paid me back $800 total. Once, for my birthday. Like it was a gift." "No way." I felt my jaw clench. So it wasn't just me. They'd been running this scam on her for a decade, before they even started with me. "Why didn't you say anything?" "Because I was stupid. I thought eventually they'd do the right thing. That something would click and they'd realize you can't just take and never give back." She took a sip of her coffee. "I was wrong. Some people don't learn. They just get better at justifying it." She walked me through the whole thing. Back in 2017, my parents were supposedly in a financial bind. Dad had quit another job, his third in 5 years, because he didn't vibe with the company culture. Mom had stopped working entirely, claiming chronic fatigue that somehow didn't prevent her from shopping or going to wine tastings. They'd asked Helen if they could stay in her rental property for a few months, just until they got back on their feet. She'd agreed, gave them a break on rent, said they could pay utilities and property taxes instead. That was 8 years ago. They'd never paid a single bill. Not one. Over time, they'd started acting like they owned the place. Renovated without asking. Planted gardens. Invited people over and called it their home. Helen had been too polite to push back. Too worried about causing family drama. But the loans were different. Those had paper trails. "I spoke with my attorney yesterday," she said. "Told him everything. He said we have grounds for immediate eviction based on breach of rental agreement and non-payment. But the loans?" She smiled. "Well, the loans give us leverage." She handed me another folder. This one had collection notices already drafted, legal demand letters, court filing templates, everything we needed to turn my parents' world upside down. "Here's what's going to happen," she said. "We're going to file repayment demands for every loan, every single one. Yours and mine combined, that's $78,200. We're going to give them 30 days to either pay in full or set up a payment plan. And when they don't, then we file in court. We get judgments. We put liens on anything they own. And if they want to keep living in my house, they're going to start paying market rate rent, $3,000 a month." I did the math in my head. There was no way they could afford that. Dad's sporadic income and Mom's non-existent job meant they were barely scraping by even with me funding them. "They'll lose the house," I said. "Yes. And Brielle? She's been living there rent-free too. She can pay or leave." I sat back in my chair and smiled. For once, I wasn't the one solving their problems. I was the one holding all the cards. "There's something else," Helen said. She pulled out her laptop and turned it toward me. On the screen was a Craigslist ad. Luxury downtown apartment available for short-term rental. $180 per night. Sleeps 4. Pet-friendly. The photos showed a place I recognized immediately. The exposed brick, the industrial lighting, the art on the walls. "That's Brielle's room," I said. "That's my house." Helen's voice could have frozen water. She's been renting out rooms on Craigslist and Airbnb, pocketing the money, not telling anyone. My hands clenched into fists. "How long?" "At least 18 months, maybe longer." My neighbor mentioned seeing different cars in the driveway at odd hours. Strangers coming and going. I didn't think much of it at first. Then I found the listings. She showed me more. Different ads, different platforms. Some listed it as cozy suburban retreat, others as artist's loft space, all featuring rooms in Helen's house, all managed by Brielle under fake names. "Based on the booking history I could find, she's made at least $15,000 off this," Helen said. "Probably closer to 20. all while claiming she's struggling and needs loans to survive. I felt rage building. What do you need me to do? Helen smiled again. That same look. Nothing yet, just be ready, because when we drop this on them, they're going to come at you hard. They're going to tell everyone you're tearing the family apart. Let them. I'm ready. Good. She closed the folders. The demand letters go out today. Legal eviction notice goes out tomorrow. After that, we wait and watch them scramble. I left her place feeling something I hadn't felt in years. Power. Not over them, but over my own life. By the afternoon, the certified letters would be delivered. By tomorrow, the eviction notice would be posted. And by next week, they'd realize they'd messed with the wrong people. Let the games begin. The letters hit around 3 p.m. 17 missed calls in 20 minutes, 6 voicemails, 34 texts. I was at work, sitting in a meeting about quarterly projections, watching my phone vibrate itself across the conference table. My boss looked at me with raised eyebrows. Everything okay? Family emergency, I said. I excused myself and stepped into the hallway. Opened the messages. Mom. What have you done? We got a letter from a lawyer. Call me now. Dad. If you think you're getting a cent from us, you're out of your mind. We're calling the police. Brielle. You're actually trying to sue us? You're seriously that petty? Hope you're proud. I scrolled through them all. Not one acknowledgement of the loans. Just outrage that I dared to ask for my money back. Then came a text from a number I didn't recognize. This is Simon's attorney. Please have your lawyer contact me to discuss these frivolous claims. This is bordering on extortion. I screenshot it and sent it to Helen with a message. They hired a lawyer. She responded immediately. Good. Mine's better. Around 5 p.m., Derek met me at a diner near my apartment. I needed food and someone to vent to who wasn't going to tell me to work it out or think about family. So they got the letters, he said. And apparently asking for your money back is extortion now. He laughed. Man, your family is something else. They're about to find out what else I can be. I showed him the eviction notice Helen had sent. 30 days to vacate. Market rate rent or get out. Where are they going to go? Derek asked. Not my problem. Cold. I like that. He grinned. Wait, you don't know half of what they've done. I told him about the Craigslist rentals. How Brielle had been making money off Helen's house while crying poverty. How she'd borrowed thousands from me, claiming she couldn't make rent when she was literally profiting off someone else's property. Derek's face went from amused to disgusted. That's nasty. That's my sister. My phone buzzed again. This time it was a group text from the extended family. Cousins, aunts, uncles. Someone had started a group called Family Crisis and added everyone. Aunt Rose. Can someone explain what's happening? Maria called me crying. Uncle Jeff. I'm hearing lawyers are involved? Over what? Cousin Amy. Nick, why are you suing your parents? And there it was. The smear campaign had started. I typed out a response. I'm not suing anyone. I'm requesting repayment of documented loans per the signed agreements. If they'd like to discuss the $47,000 they owe me, I'm happy to talk. I attached a photo of one of the loan agreements. Dad's signature was clear as day. The amount, $18,000. The repayment terms, 24 months. The date, 3 years ago. The group went silent for a solid minute. Then Uncle Jeff. Holy... Cousin Amy. Wait, there are more? I sent another photo. Mom's loan, $12,000. Then Brielle's. $6,500 for emergency equipment. Then another of Brielle's. $4,200 for rent assistance. Uncle Jeff. What the heck? Then Dad jumped into the group. Those aren't loans. That was family helping family. We never agreed to pay that back. I screenshot his text and sent another photo. The loan agreement he'd signed. The part where it explicitly stated, borrower agrees to repay in full within 24 months. His signature at the bottom. Your signature says otherwise. Mom joined. You're twisting things. We were in crisis. You offered to help. Now you're using it against us. No, I offered loans. You agreed to terms. You never paid. That's called breach of contract. Brielle, you're actually doing this in front of everyone? You're such a vindictive jerk. Derek was reading over my shoulder, shaking his head. Dude, they're getting destroyed. Aunt Rose, I think we all need to take a breath here. Uncle Jeff, no, I want to see where this goes. Nick, how much do they actually owe? I replied, $47,000 from me, $31,200 from my grandmother, all documented loans with signatures. The group chat exploded, people taking sides, some saying I was being cruel, others saying if they signed agreements, they needed to pay. Then Helen joined the group. Grandma Helen. Since we're all here, let me clarify. My son and daughter-in-law have been living in my rental property for 8 years without paying rent, utilities, or property taxes. The agreed rent was $1,200 per month, which totals $115,200 in unpaid rent alone. Add utilities and annual property taxes of $3,600, $28,800 over 8 years, and we're looking at approximately $48,000 more in unpaid costs. Over $163,000 total in housing expenses they never covered. They were also given personal loans totaling $31,200, which were never repaid. An eviction notice has been filed. They have 30 days. Complete silence. Mom left the group chat, then Dad, then Brielle. The remaining family members started asking questions. I let them talk, let them process. Then I dropped the final bomb. Also, Brielle has been illegally subletting rooms in Helen's house via Airbnb and Craigslist for profit without permission. We've documented at least $15,000 in unauthorized income over the past 18 months. I sent screenshots of the listings, the Craigslist ads, the Airbnb reviews. Cousin Amy. Brielle, seriously? Uncle Jeff. This is fraud. And just like that, the narrative shifted. They went from questioning me to realizing my family had been running scams on multiple people for years. My phone rang. Helen, you're enjoying this too much, she said. Maybe a little. Good. Don't stop now. They're going to play the victim. Don't let them. I won't. Meeting with my attorney tomorrow at 9. Be there. We're accelerating the eviction based on the subletting. They've got 2 weeks now, not 30 days. Perfect. I hung up and ordered another round of fries. Derek clinked his drink against mine. Here's to not being a doormat anymore. I'll drink to that. The next 2 weeks were psychological warfare. My parents went nuclear. First came the Facebook post. Mom wrote this long, dramatic thing about how her son had abandoned her in her time of need. How she'd sacrificed everything raising me, and this was how I repaid her. The post got attention. Friends from their church, old neighbors, distant relatives who didn't know the full story, they all commented with support. How could he? And family should come first, and I'm praying for you. I watched it from the sidelines, waiting. Then Helen struck back. She commented on Mom's post, with receipts. Maria, for clarity, you've lived in my home for 8 years without paying the agreed-upon rent. You borrowed $31,200 from me with signed agreements to repay within 3 years. Your daughter has been illegally subletting my property for profit. These are facts, not opinions. I've attached the documentation, and she actually did. Posted PDFs of the rental agreement, the loan paperwork, screenshots of Brielle's Airbnb account with earnings displayed. The comment section went from supportive to hostile in minutes. People started asking Mom questions she couldn't answer. Someone called her a scammer. Someone else said they were reporting the Airbnb fraud to the IRS. Mom deleted the post an hour later. But screenshots live forever. Cousin Brian had saved it and shared it in the family group with the caption, "In case anyone missed this." Next came the guilt trips. Personal, targeted, brutal. Dad called me from a number I didn't have blocked. I answered by mistake. "You're killing your mother," he said. No hello, just that. The stress is too much. If something happens to her, it's on you. Then maybe she should have thought about that before borrowing money she had no intention of repaying. We were going to pay you back. When? In what universe were you going to come up with $47,000? Silence. That's what I thought, I said. Anything else? You used to be a good person. What the heck happened to you? I still am. You're just mad I'm not a doormat anymore. I hung up. Brielle tried a different approach. She sent me a message claiming she was getting death threats from crazy people online because of what I'd done. Said she was scared to leave the house. Said she might hurt herself if this continued. I screenshot her message and sent it to Helen with a note. Manipulation or genuine concern? Helen replied, manipulation. She's been posting Instagram stories at restaurants all week. I checked. She was right. Brielle's stories showed her out with friends, drinking cocktails, living life. The whole I'm scared thing was theater. I sent her one message back. You still owe $17,000. She didn't respond. The eviction process moved forward. 2 weeks to vacate. Helen's attorney was ruthless. When my parents tried to claim they had tenant rights and couldn't be forced out on short notice, he dropped a folder of evidence showing the illegal subletting, pointed out that running an unauthorized rental business from someone else's property voided any tenant protections they thought they had. They had no legal ground to stand on. The judge approved the eviction. 2 weeks, final. That's when things got personal. I came home from work one day to find my apartment door scratched up. Someone had keyed traitor into the metal. Building security footage showed Brielle, wearing sunglasses and a hood, doing it at 2 a.m. I filed a police report, added it to the growing pile of evidence. Then Mom showed up at my work. She walked into the office, asked for me at reception, and when I came down, she tried to make a scene. "Please," she said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "Don't do this. We'll lose everything." I kept my voice calm and low. "No, Mom. You need to leave. We're family. Family forgives. Family don't steal from each other." "How dare you? We didn't steal. You gave—" I loaned. Security. Security showed up and escorted her out. My boss pulled me aside later and asked if I needed to take personal time. I told him I was fine. The family group chat had splintered into factions. Some people supported me. Others thought I was being too harsh. Most just stayed silent and watched the train wreck unfold. Uncle Jeff reached out privately. I've been thinking about all those times they asked me for money. Never gave it to them. Always felt guilty. Not anymore. Cousin Amy sent me a message. Brielle asked to borrow $3,000 from me last year. I said no. She never spoke to me again. Now I know why. The support was quiet but real. Then, a week before the eviction date, my parents made their final play. They hired a new lawyer, some flashy guy who specialized in family disputes. He sent a letter threatening to sue me for emotional distress, for elder abuse, for financial coercion. Helen's attorney laughed when he read it. "They've got nothing. This is a Hail Mary. Should I be worried? Only if you're worried about wasting 30 minutes in court watching their case get dismissed." The eviction was happening in 6 days. The court date for the loan repayment was scheduled for 2 weeks after the eviction. Everything was falling into place. Then I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. "Nick, this is Colleen, your dad's sister, Aunt Colleen. I hadn't talked to her in years. She'd moved to Oregon and dropped out of the family orbit. Hey, I heard what's happening. I want you to know, you're doing the right thing. Thanks." "No, I mean it. Your father did the same thing to our parents. Borrowed money, never paid it back, acted like it was owed to him. I stopped talking to him because of it. Your grandmother bailed him out more times than you know." My stomach dropped. I didn't know that. That's because they don't talk about it. They bury it. They make you feel crazy for remembering. But you're not crazy. You're doing what I should have done years ago. We talked for 20 minutes. She told me stories I'd never heard. How Dad had conned his own mother multiple times. How he'd borrowed from her friends. How he'd always positioned himself as the victim. It wasn't just me. It was a pattern. And now I understood why Helen snapped too. This wasn't about revenge. This was about breaking a cycle. The morning of the eviction, I didn't go to the house. Helen didn't either. We sent her attorney and a sheriff's deputy to handle it. I was at work trying to focus on a project when my phone started buzzing. Group chat activity. Extended family texting. Everyone knew what was happening today. Around noon, Helen's attorney called. "It's done. They're out. Left about an hour ago. Any issues? Your sister threw a makeup palette at the deputy. Missed. Other than that, no." I almost laughed. "Of course she did. Property's empty now. Your grandmother's getting the locks changed this afternoon." What did they take? Everything they could fit in a U-Haul. Left some furniture, trash everywhere, couple holes in the walls. Standard spite. Are we documenting it? Already done. Photos, video, the works. If they try to claim they left it in good condition, we've got proof otherwise. They were out. It was real. My phone buzzed. Message from an unknown number. "We're homeless because of you. If anything happens now, it's all your fault." Blocked. They were cycling through phones, trying to get to me. I blocked 4 numbers in 10 minutes. Then came a call from Aunt Rose. "Nick, I just talked to your mother. They're in a motel. They don't have anywhere to go. They had 8 years to figure out housing. She's saying they can't afford first month's rent anywhere. That they're going to end up on the street. They should have thought about that before refusing to pay their debts. Can't you just—" "No. Rose, with all due respect, they owe me $47,000. They owe Helen $31,200. They've been living rent-free for 8 years. They've borrowed and stolen and manipulated their way through life, and it finally caught up with them. I'm not the villain here." Silence. "I know," she finally said. I feel bad." "So do I. But feeling bad doesn't change what they did." She sighed. "You're right. I'm sorry for calling." Over the next 3 days, I got texts from 7 different numbers. All variations of blame, threats, guilt trips. I documented every one and forwarded them to Helen's attorney. "This is harassment," he said. "We can file for a restraining order if you want." "Not yet. Let's see if they burn themselves out first. Your call, but the moment it escalates, we move." 2 weeks after the eviction, The court date for the loan repayment arrived. I took the day off work and met Helen outside the courthouse. Inside, my parents sat on the opposite side of the room with their lawyer. Mom looked worn down. Dad looked furious. Brielle wasn't there. When the judge called the case, both sides presented their evidence. Then the judge asked, "Do you have documentation stating these were gifts?" Their lawyer shuffled papers. "Your Honor, this was a family matter. The expectation was documentation. Yes or no?" "No, Your Honor, but then they're loans. Do you dispute the signatures on these agreements?" Dad leaned forward. "Those were signed under duress." "What duress?" "We were desperate. Being desperate doesn't negate a contract. Do you have evidence of coercion? Threats? Anything that would invalidate these agreements?" Silence. The judge looked at our attorney. "What are you seeking?" "Full repayment of $78,200 combined, plus interest and legal fees. If unable to pay in full, we request a court-ordered payment plan with automatic wage garnishment to ensure compliance." The judge nodded. "Granted. Defendants will repay the full amount at $800 per month until satisfied. Wage garnishment will be initiated if payments are missed. Court fees to be split between parties." The look on their faces was priceless. Their lawyer tried to argue, but the judge wasn't having it. We walked out of that courtroom with a legal win. $800 a month, automatically taken from their income. Beautiful. Helen looked at me as we reached the parking lot. "How do you feel?" "Like I finally got my spine back." She smiled. "Good, because we're not done yet." "What do you mean?" "There's still the matter of the illegal subletting. I've filed a separate civil suit for lost income. That goes to court next month." I blinked. "How much are you going for?" "Whatever we can prove plus damages. Could be $20,000 or more from Brielle." "Damn, Grandma." "I told you, I'm done being nice." We parted ways, and I drove home feeling lighter than I had in years. But the next morning, I woke up to 50 missed calls and a voicemail from Mom that made my stomach turn. "Nick, your father's in the hospital. He collapsed last night. The doctor says it's stress-related. If he dies, it's because of you. I hope you can live with that." I stared at my phone, feeling my gut twist. Then I called Helen. "I got the same message," she said. "It's bait." "Don't take it." "Should I go to the hospital?" "Do you want to?" I thought about it. Really thought about it. "No." "Then don't." I didn't. I went to work. I lived my life. And when people asked if I'd heard about Dad, I said yes and left it at that. 3 days later, Dad was released from the hospital. Stress-induced panic attack. Not a heart attack. Not life-threatening. The guilt trip didn't work. And that's when they realized they'd lost. Losing the court case broke something in them. For the first time in their lives, they couldn't manipulate their way out. The $800 monthly garnishment hit their accounts immediately. Automatic. Unavoidable. Dad had picked up work at a warehouse. Mom was doing data entry from whatever apartment they'd managed to scrape together. Brielle had moved in with some guy she met on a dating app. Another temporary host she'd drain until he got wise. But the damage was spreading beyond just the money. The extended family wasn't buying their victim act anymore. Aunt Rose stopped returning Mom's calls. Uncle Jeff blocked Dad after he tried to borrow just $500 to get through the month. Cousin Amy publicly called Brielle out on Facebook for trying to sell her a makeup service while still owing me 17 grand. Their social circle imploded. People from church stopped inviting them to events. Old friends got quiet. Then Helen's civil suit against Brielle went to court 3 weeks after the loan repayment judgment. I attended. Her argument was that she'd been sharing the space with friends, and any money exchanged was contributions to household costs. Helen's attorney dropped a stack of printed Airbnb reviews, Craigslist conversations, and Venmo transactions showing $19,400 in documented rental income over 18 months. The judge looked at Brielle. "You operated an unlicensed rental business from property you didn't own, pocketed the income, and now claim it was just friends helping out? I was trying to survive by committing fraud. Judgment for the plaintiff. $19,400 plus damages and legal fees. Wage garnishment authorized." Brielle stormed out of the courtroom. After the hearing, I went back to work, back to my life. The chaos was still happening around me, but I wasn't in it anymore. I was an observer, not a participant. 2 months after the eviction, I heard through my cousins that Brielle's boyfriend kicked her from his place, and she's been sleeping in her car. Sucks to suck. The garnishments kept hitting, every month, like clockwork. They tried to fight it twice, filed motions to reduce the payments, claimed financial hardship. Both times, the judge denied them, said they'd signed contracts and now they'd honor them. 4 months after the court judgment, they'd paid back $3,200 of the combined $78,200. At this rate, It'd take over 8 years to repay everything. 8 years of being legally bound to the consequences of their choices. And I was fine with that. Grandma and I met for lunch one afternoon. She looked good, lighter, less stressed. She'd renovated the house after they'd left, turned it into an actual rental property with real tenants who paid on time. How's it feel? I asked. Liberating. She sipped her coffee. I spent so long trying to help them, trying to be the supportive mother, the understanding grandmother. All it did was enable them to get worse. You did the right thing. So did you. Don't forget that. When they come crawling back, and they will, don't forget what they did. Don't forget how they treated you. I won't. But I didn't believe they'd come crawling back. They were too proud, too stubborn, too committed to their victim narrative. I was wrong. 6 months after the eviction, my phone rang on a Saturday evening. Unknown number. Nick? Mom's voice. Small. Broken. What? How are you, son? Don't call me that. What do you want? She paused, then said, Can we talk? In person? No. Please, I'm asking. I don't have anything to say to you. Then just listen. That's all I'm asking. She kept ranting for like 2 minutes and asking me to meet. I should have said no, but curiosity won, I guess. So, I agreed to meet her tomorrow. The next day, I showed up early at some coffee shop, grabbed a corner table where I could see the door. Derek had offered to come as backup, but I told him I'd be fine. Mom walked in at 12:03. She looked rough, face worn. She'd aged 5 years and 6 months. She sat down across from me without ordering anything. Thank you for coming. I didn't respond, just waited. Then after the awkward silence, she finally spoke. I wanted to apologize. Okay, we were wrong. About everything. The loans, the house, the way we treated you, all of it. I leaned back. What do you want? Nothing. I needed to say it. You said it. Anything else? She looked down at her hands. Your father and I are separating. That caught me off guard. What? We can't afford to live together anymore. The garnishments, the rent, everything. We're drowning. We are blaming each other the whole time. It's over. I'm sorry. I wasn't. Brielle's pregnant. She doesn't know who the father is. She's asking us for help, but we don't have anything to give her. Again, not my problem. I know. I'm not asking you to fix it. I just thought you should know. We sat in silence for a moment. Then she spoke again. Quieter. You were right. About everything. We used you. We took advantage. And when you finally stood up for yourself, we tried to destroy you for it. I don't expect you to forgive me. I just wanted you to know that I see it now. What we did. I studied her face, looking for the manipulation, the angle, but all I saw was exhaustion. Is that it? That's it. I stood up. Thanks for the apology, but it doesn't change anything. You still owe me $47,000. The garnishment continues until it's paid. That's how this works. I understand. Do you? Because for years, you acted like consequences didn't apply to you. Like you could just cry and guilt trip your way out of anything. Now you're learning that's not how the world works. Her eyes filled with tears, but she didn't argue. I walked out. 2 weeks later, Dad called. I didn't answer. He left a voicemail. Nick, I know you don't want to talk to me. I get it. But I'm calling to ask, no, to beg. Your grandmother cut me off completely. Won't answer my calls. I made mistakes. I know I did. But she's my mother. Can you talk to her? Tell her I'm sorry? I didn't respond. Helen called me that evening. Your father left me 5 voicemails. I know. He asked me to talk to you. What did you say? Nothing. Deleted it. Good. She paused. He's not getting back in. Ever. I want to be clear about that. I spent 40 years enabling him, bailing him out, making excuses. I'm not doing it anymore. And if that makes me a bad mother, I'll live with that. You're not a bad mother. You're actually amazing. So are you, kid. We hung up, and I sat on my couch taking in the weight of the last 6 months. The chaos, the legal battles, the family implosion, and I felt good. Not in a vindictive way. Not in a, ha-ha, they're suffering way. Just free. For years, I'd carried their problems, their debt, their dysfunction. And the moment I put it down, they tried to make me feel guilty for not picking it back up. But I didn't. And I wouldn't. Christmas came and went. And I spent it with Helen and some cousins who'd sided with us through the mess. No drama, no tension, just food and laughter and quiet. The garnishments continued, month after month, like clockwork. By the 1-year mark, they'd paid back $9,600. Barely a dent, but progress. Helen kept the house rented. She was making more in 1 month than my parents had contributed in 8 years. Me? Started dating someone Derek introduced me to, bought a new car, lived my life without the constant background noise of other people's crises. And every month when that $800 hit my account from the garnishment, I transferred it straight to savings. Not because I needed it, but because it was a reminder. A reminder that family isn't a free pass to use people. A reminder that sometimes the best thing you can do for yourself is stop carrying weight that isn't yours. YouTube just dropped this new hype feature. If you're hooked on this story, smash that hype button. It tells YouTube this video deserves to blow up, and it keeps even crazier stories coming your way.